Driving on the highway, cruising so fast, I want time to fly. Fun,
Go,
fun,
Turks,
think
everybody.
about fun. You know what it is.
Happy Hour Friday. I'm happy. You happy?
I'm very happy.
If we were on local news, I would say, I'm happy to be sitting next to you today, Anna.
I know, and then I'd be like, I'm happy as well. It's a great Friday. And then we'd cut to video and we would like call each other whores and you tell me you want to punch me in my ovary.
That's right. By the way, I saw The Other Guys, which I made the #1 movie of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Little stupid. But the Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell movie, directed by Adam McKay.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't seen it since I saw it and loved it so much the first time. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was right. I mean, I'm maybe not right about the best movie of the year, but it's flat out funny.
I have to see that.
It's exceptionally funny.
Have you seen Bridesmaids, or are you one of those people who immediately pass it off as a chick flick?
No, no. First of all, I'm a professional film critic, so yes,
Please.
I've seen Bridesmaids.
Uh-huh.
Please, and I don't care what your opinion is because you're a layman.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, you shouldn't even be participating in this conversation.
I know,
but
I'm exempt from the conversation.
I will permit you to offer your opinion.
Mm-hmm. I love that movie. It was so funny.
I don't care. No, you did like it, right?
No, it was really funny, and I actually went in with low expectations because for some reason lately all trailers give all the funny parts of the movies away.
For a long time, I think we're going on like 5 years of this
I know.
nonsense.
You
now,
watch the trailer, you see all of the funny aspects of the movie, and then you watch the actual movie, and it turns out to be bland. So I had low expectations, but I was not only impressed. I say that Bridesmaids is the best movie of 2011.
Really?
And I've only seen like 5 movies this year. So take that with a grain of salt.
I thought, my brother did a story on it for, I don't think I can tell this story. I'm taking it back. Someone I know didn't like the movie.
Bridesmaids?
Yeah, didn't like it strongly. But actually, in this case, not my brother. And so my expectations were lowered.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I went in, and and all of a sudden, like a couple minutes in, I'm like, who doesn't like this movie? And that had been another critic. And I saw it, and I thought, this is sensational. So I liked it. I loved it.
I mean, who doesn't love it?
It's not a. First of all, I hate the term chick flick. It was funny.
It was funny. And who doesn't
She's
love
incredibly talented, Kristen Wiig. Who doesn't love Kristen Wiig?
She's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know who else is funny? Jack Kevorkian.
Hilarious.
Oh, my God, that guy was a riot.
So Jack Kevorkian is in the news today because he died. He died at the age of 83. He was hospitalized for a short period of time, and he passed away this morning. Apparently, he had congestive heart failure.
Yeah, he had a lot of things wrong with him.
Well, he was 83. So, of course, Jack Kevorkian was well known because he was pushing doctor-assisted suicide and euthanasia. And, when the whole Jack Kevorkian scandal happened and when he was sent to prison, I was extremely young. So all I remember is how the media portrayed him and how they covered his story. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a terrible individual. He's a terrible guy and he should be locked away, and I'm embarrassed that he's an Armenian, right? But then now that I'm older, because Armenians are never in the news unless you're Kim Kardashian or Jack Kevorkian. So I was like, oh, disaster. But so I thought to myself, this is a terrible guy.
So unless you're making a sex tape or
assisting people in suicide, you're never in the news.
Okay, that's good to know.
So except that tennis player is Armenian, the bald guy.
I don't know.
Who dated Brooke Shields.
Okay.
Agassi.
Andre Agassi?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you know he was Armenian?
I did not know.
Cher is also partly
Was his
Armenian.
original name Agassian?
Probably. I don't know. But he did this interview where he talked about how much he loves Armenian foods and Armenian culture. And I remember the Armenian community was very proud.
I didn't know he was Armenian. Are you sure he's Armenian?
Swear to God.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you would know.
Yeah, you better watch it. You better not deny it.
He did have a drug problem.
Oh, I heard about that as well, but we don't need to mention that. Anyway, back to Jack Kevorkian. So now that I read his obituary and I learn even more about him, I don't think he's that bad of a guy. Like, I'm actually a little upset that he served prison time for what he did. I mean, these people were terminally ill. These people were suffering. They were in pain. And in all of the cases, except for that one case in the end that he got imprisoned for, he assisted them in suicide. It's not like he pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, he served 8 years in prison. I think that ultimately, He looks so happy there. I just killed someone. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, it's a terrible
Yeah,
picture.
it's the best. Cenk and I used to talk a lot about when we talk about torture, and I suspect Cenk feels differently now about if there was ever a time where you could, in fact, torture someone. And because, Republicans use that nonsense ticking time bomb situation. And we're like, okay, suppose there actually was a ticking time bomb, and you catch the guy and you know he did it. Like you catch JR, and he's abducted the child. JR, do you mind if I use you okay, JR doesn't care.
JR is the abductor.
JR has abducted a child, and he's buried the child underground, and the child's going to suffocate. And he has told you where, and you know you got the right guy. And the kid's got like 20 minutes to live. And JR's not talking. At that point, can you do anything to get the information out of it? Theoretically, in a theoretical world, no. If you're a cop in that situation, probably yes. Would I understand that? Totally, right? But then we would say, okay, by the way, that situation never happens. And it certainly doesn't happen in the world where there's like an atomic bomb, only in 24. Like, oh my God, I got to know now. So you're pulling the guy's fingernails out, or you're doing the things that the Republicans love. So, and we would discuss then, like, okay, but then Cenk, I thought very wisely said, okay, fine, you do that. The kid's buried in the snow. The bomb's about to go off, and you torture the guy, right? Then you have to accept the punishment. Then Cenk says, if he's a cop, I turn in my badge. And if I got to go to prison for it, I go to prison for it, because I've broken the law. That's a law to break. So Jack Kevorkian did these things, right? And we think it's the right thing, and the law should be changed. But he did break the law. So in a sense, you take your punishment and go to prison. I mean, you can fight it. And he did fight it. And he tried to get the law overturned. He tried to make a case that, but you can't, if you get convicted,
Right.
You did it. He did it. The law said you can't do it, and you did it anyway because you thought it was the right thing to do. It's admirable. But I don't know that you can get that upset that he went to prison, although 8 years seems like a really long time.
8 years does seem like a long time, especially when you consider the fact that I think pretty soon, or maybe not pretty soon, maybe in the next decade, there will be laws in place that would allow doctors to assist in suicide without any punishment, or even do what Jack Kevorkian did, which is actually administer the drugs that killed the last man that he got in a lot of trouble for. But I don't know. It's just what I took away from this story more than anything else was the media's portrayal of him when the actual case was happening, and the media's portrayal of him now that he's dead. I mean, he's been vilified and he's been painted as this terrible man who's obsessed with death and killing people. He wasn't doing it just to kill people. He did it because he genuinely thought that he was taking these people out of their misery, and that's what I've learned today about Jack Kevorkian.
Yeah, here's what else we learned about Jack Kevorkian. He was a difficult dude.
He was.
Yeah, this was not a guy who got along well with others. And this was a guy obsessed with death from very early on. Like when he was getting his postgraduate degree, it was because he wrote his thesis on, he took pictures of the dead.
He took pictures of their eyes
yeah.
because he wanted to figure out the exact moment they died.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's got a guy who's going to date often. That's a turnoff. And then sort of there's this obsession with death throughout his life. And there are some people in the assisted suicide movement who think he actually hurt the cause a lot. So he didn't make friends in that movement. And maybe I don't know whether they were jealous. I don't know. My hunch is that their heart's in the right place too, and they think he became this sort of leading advocate and the face of the movement. And if we could show another picture of him, perhaps, Jesus. I'm not entirely sure. Well, he looks awesome there.
That's a great picture.
That's a really good picture, but that was taken by. Okay, that's also a good picture. Find a lousy picture of him.
The picture of him next to the death machine.
What do you want? I'm just not sure that in general that guy when he was I'm not sure you want that guy to be the face of the assisted suicide movement. First of all, that picture looks like it was taken in 1954. And then of course he was not married and he had no children. He died.
I wonder why.
He had like a niece or something with him when he died, something like that. Because I think in the end, death was his mistress. No?
I liked it. Okay. That was funny.
Yeah, I mean, this guy couldn't have scored a lot of points with the honeys. But anyway, yes, but a totally interesting guy.
Totally interesting guy. Passed away. And that's it. All right. you know what? I really want to skip ahead to the TSA story right now because I can't wait to do it. So there were these TSA videos that were leaked to the internet. Actually, these viral videos that are on YouTube. And it features a woman who's screaming hysterically at the TSA because she claims that they groped and molested her during the advanced pat-downs. Okay, she allegedly refused to go through those full-body scanners, and then she had the pat-down. Now, in the video that you're about to watch, you don't see her getting the pat-down. You don't see her getting allegedly molested, okay? It's her reaction right after the fact, okay? So let's show you the video, and then we'll give you a nice little twist to this story.
Yeah.
I want a police officer. I think she molested me. I want a police officer now! Now! I want a police officer! She just molested me! For God's sake, somebody help me! Please get a police officer over here! I can't believe she just did to my dress! This is illegal! You can't do that! You can't do that to me! I can't believe she just did that to me! I can't believe you get a police officer right now! I can't believe she just did that! I can't believe she just did that to me! None of you care!
I need you to leave. Are you done with the screening process? I don't care. You need to leave the screening process now. Or done. Sir, we've already gone through this with you. You need to leave the screening process now. The screening process now. We're done.
They're not playing games with the rest
We've
of
already
the
gone through this with you guys once before. I need you to leave.
Well, it seems very serious, and she seems very upset. And you watch it initially, and you think this is awful. And that's her son shooting the video. He seems a little more interested in sort of framing the shot than helping his mom. But nonetheless, it's important to document. She doesn't appear to be in any imminent danger there, so maybe it is more important to document.
Right. So, you know, the TSA agents are trying to calm her down. She's screaming hysterically. And, you know, most people would watch that video and they would think to themselves, like, something serious probably did happen. Maybe she really was molested, right?
Sure. Have you been through a body scan? I mean, have you been through
I went through an advanced pat-down when I just recently traveled to the Dominican Republic, okay? And I didn't want to go through the full-body scanner.
Why?
Because I just didn't want that image taken. And maybe it's me being way too paranoid, but I just don't want it taken, okay? That's it. So they had a female TSA agent do the pat-down, which it was so absurd, okay? I was wearing skin-tight clothing, whatever. But anyway, so she did the pat-down. You know, they feel up in areas that you don't expect them to feel up on.
Totally.
And it's a little uncomfortable, but for the most part, this is unfortunately the law now, and this is what they're doing as a safety measure. It's fine. But I wouldn't have that kind of reaction. But you don't know. Who knows? Maybe some female TSA agent did grope her. Maybe they did molest her.
Right. It's not like you couldn't have an irresponsible one or a criminal one.
Exactly. So then we find out that this family has a history with the TSA. In fact, they had released a video last January under similar circumstances, okay? The man who videotaped that is the son by the name of Ryan. And it turns out last January he filmed his father losing it after he got patted down by the TSA.
And the son, in this case, in the other video, he was determined to make it clear to the TSA officer, as he was the first time. Sorry, not the first time, but as he was in the one we just showed, which was actually the second time. He was constantly reminding them that his video goes right to YouTube. He was constantly saying, this goes right to YouTube. It's getting uplinked right now to YouTube. This is on YouTube. And the TSA seems constantly to be saying, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So he's constantly saying this goes right to YouTube. And they keep saying you can't shoot here. They never tell him about a law doing it, but they keep moving him back, which makes sense. You got to move away from the. But anyway, so he keeps shooting, and then he has a nice little exchange where he decides that this shouldn't be what happens in America, but is a time long ago that no one wants to revisit.
This is what happens in America. You have the false choice of a pat-down or get microwaved like a TV dinner. Afterwards comes, would you like the gas chamber, the furnace, or the firing squad? This is what happened in fucking 1936 Nazi Germany. They turned into the Gestapo. I know. They turned into the Gestapo. This is fucking 1936 Germany.
They turned to the Gestapo. It's the Gestapo. They're a little different than the Gestapo. They were actually worse. Most people don't know about the Gestapo. He keeps referring to the, he's always talking about the furnace. He loves talking about the furnace. Okay, it's an uncomfortable body check. It's not the furnace.
Yeah. And look, I'm against the body checks as well, but there was something about both videos that struck me as, I don't know, disingenuous.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I watch those videos and I feel bad because we don't see what happens to her off camera, okay? I don't want to completely dismiss her and say that there's absolutely no possibility that she got molested. Of course there's a possibility, right? But given the first video from January and given like the reaction that they have in both videos, it just seems like they're doing this to get 15 minutes of fame. And if they are in fact doing that for 15 minutes of fame, then I'm outraged.
Or worse, that they're doing it to set up a lawsuit. I mean, I'll be honest, if you shoot it once and then you go back and shoot it again and claim that you were assaulted, you're right. We didn't. First of all, if you shoot it once and it's clearly a big deal to you, and then somehow you miss the actual assault, like, wouldn't you make sure to shoot that part? I mean, this is why you're here, to show your mom getting the pat down.
Exactly.
Go through 5 people ahead of her.
Exactly.
Turn around and shoot your mom going through. I don't. Yeah.
That's a great point, okay?
Yeah.
Because if this supposedly happened last January with your father,
Here we
your
are
father
4
was
months
supposedly
later, right.
4 months later, if all of a sudden you're paranoid that it could happen again and you have your camera ready, why is it that you don't film your mom getting
If you think
patted
these
down?
guys are the Gestapo, you're going to want to know, you know?
I don't get it, you know? And the reason why this makes me so angry, if in fact they are lying and they're doing this for whatever purpose, whether it's 15 minutes of fame or a lawsuit. Like, molestation is such a serious issue,
Right.
and in so many cases now, a woman will claim that she's molested and she has legitimately been molested, and people dismiss her because you have douchebags like these people pretending like they got molested to either get fame or to get attention or file a lawsuit, and that I don't think that's okay.
You know, because we focus, because we like things in the media that are different, you know, those, and so, you know, here's what I guarantee is like an incontrovertible fact. 99.8% of the women who say they've been raped have been raped. You know, and then there's this teeny, insignificant portion that haven't been, that are looking to cash in for money or whatever. Or and if it's higher, then it's 1%. But I mean, if you're going to go put yourself through that, you have been. And of course, there's that gigantic number that don't even bring it up because it's embarrassing and they just want to move past it or for whatever reason. And it's up to them because it's their lives and this horrible, violent crime happened to them. You know, and then you're right. And then there's because the people like this, and then we all go, oh, women, they're making it up.
Making it up,
And we don't know
exactly.
what happened. But again, you'd think they'd get it. But again, come on, they shot it before. So, and then they got this whole routine playing because they repeat a lot of the same lines. He's ready to make this point, and here he gets into a constitutional battle.
Right.
With the TSA. This is good stuff too.
There's no probable cause for any of this. There's no warrant, no search warrant. Complete violation. They're supposedly a government entity, and their rule book is the Fourth Amendment in the Constitution. It's a clear violation of everything that we've ever stood for. The whole time we've been brought up through all our school system, we've been told that we have freedoms. Well, this is obvious disregard for freedom and individual sovereignty. It's obvious. It's blatant disregard for everybody's individual rights. Blatant. Don't fly. That's a false option. That's a false choice. You should learn logical fallacies. It's called a false choice.
He's almost scripted. Come on. Come on.
It's a false choice. It's a fallacy. It's a false choice. It's a false choice, Anna. It's a false choice. Let me tell you something. The Gestapo and the Nazis. This is what the Nazis did. One more clip here, because I like this, because eventually they talk to a cop, and they go from a TSA to what looks like a cop. And, you know, a cop, these guys, you know, make fun of airport cops because they seem like lesser cops, and I apologize for that. A lot of people do. I'm sure I have in my life. But, and by the way, there's no evidence of that. And so this airport police officer, and, you know, he could have run these guys in. He could have made a scene. And what this guy does is what you want all police officers to do. This guy was great.
Yeah, he handled the situation very well.
He listened, and it had to be like, shut up, shut up, shut up. God, I want to push you to the ground and arrest you and carry you out of here and break your phone. And the cop listens to this scripted nonsense. And I just want to give the cop some props. Run this last clip.
It is not sexual assault. You are submitting to screening when you enter the TSA checkpoint.
That's not the question I asked. That's not the question I asked.
You are submitting to screening. That is a part of
So that means that a grown man can touch another man's genitalia, or another woman can grope another woman's breast. That's considered to be screening?
I do it every day in my job when I arrest someone.
You have probable cause, do you not? You have to deal with the Constitution. You have probable cause.
But
Do you not?
when you walk
Do you not have probable cause?
walk in this area, you have consent. You give them consent to search.
Consent to what? A false choice to get microwaved like a TV dinner or get groped?
Right.
It's a false choice to get microwave like a TV dinner, get groped. It's a false choice, Anna. It's a false choice.
You're right. That was an amazing
Yeah.
way of handling that situation, because you have the lunatic woman on the side, like screaming
Never
nonstop.
stop.
She
Never stops. Never stops.
It's throughout the entire video, and then you have her son talking about constitutional rights and whatever, and the police officer doesn't lose it. There's all this chaos around him, and he's keeping it calm, keeping it cool, very collected.
We played 35 seconds of that. That exact sort of tone went on for 3 minutes, where he was just like, while this guy's taping. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to let you keep taping. I got it. I'm just going to explain it to you until this dies down, and you guys can take your flight from Phoenix to Indianapolis, and we can move on with our day. Yeah, good work.
Unbelievable. That story drives me crazy. All right, we got to take a break. Let's do that. And when we come back, New Jersey will now allow drunk drivers to sue people who overserve them. Unbelievable story. We'll be back with that and more.
Young Turks, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Interesting poll numbers here from Democratic pollster Stan Greenberg, and I think in it there's some advice that Democrats should take. So he had results from a series of focus groups and one-on-one interviews that he did recently in conjunction with his group, Democracy Corps. That's the organization he founded with James Carville. And of course, some of the numbers make some sense, and they could argue that they bear some good news for Republicans. There's a collapse of confidence in the GOP for being the right party in order to fight problems with the deficit and handle the economy. Back in April, the GOP was the party best equipped to handling spending and the deficits by a margin of 51 to 35. The GOP over the Democrats, voters thought were the right party to handle that. Shocking, given the nonsensical things that people like Eric Cantor say and their refusal to raise the debt ceiling without corresponding cuts. $2 trillion, by the way, over $2 trillion. Now there's been a reduction from that 15-point gap to a 9-point gap in just a month to 44-35. But Democrats would be foolish to simply focus on that. So, and of course, we've had there were 244,000 new jobs created in April, but there were those terrible jobs numbers here where there were more jobs created, but way less than April. So bad economic numbers today. Democrats would be foolish to focus solely on that. That's what he learned. So here's what they saw from these focus groups, is that the middle class is smashed. This is what people believed. Rising prices, declining benefits, leading to a downsizing of expectations for the American dream among the middle class. Companies no longer creating American jobs. That's what people see. Outsourcing of jobs. Competition from China leading to, quote, a deep feeling of betrayal by the middle class because they feel betrayed by companies and by political leaders from both parties. Quote, the country is weighed down by debt, spending, and greed. Greenberg described perceptions of debt and spending as central as central to the economic security of the country, but he also stressed that voter references to debt were more than government and also included leverage by private companies. So when we talk about debt, it's not just about government, but also about private companies and loans taken by individuals who could not afford them. So about personal responsibility as well. Quote, corrupted politicians making economic change impossible. Average people still struggling to survive without the help from government. And by the way, when you talk about average people, man, those are Democratic voters. Those are Democratic voters, and Democrats have to find a way to reach them. Corrupted politics makes economic change impossible. This is what came out of the focus groups. Average people struggling to survive without the help from government, while, quote, a nexus of big money and politics allows the people who are the greediest and most irresponsible to get bailed out. Against this backdrop, Greenberg warns the Obama administration and Democrats that the, quote, past is the trap. So don't get caught up in saying this is Bush's fault, these are the Republicans' fault. Don't go around blaming Bush, saying that Obama came in and inherited this mess. You can say it, but don't expect that. Don't make that a theme. No one's gonna cut you a break for saying that. No one, not one voter, not one independent voter. So don't say talking about the past is a trap. Political messages about who was more responsible for the financial crash or about the merits of the recovery tested dismally. So don't pat yourself on the back for recovery efforts, because again, this is about the real economy. You can talk about increased jobs, you can talk about how much better things are, but voters aren't seeing it. They're not seeing it, they're not feeling it in their lives. Middle class voters still feel that the American dream has been crushed. So when you pat yourselves on the back about how this recovery is going great, how things are better, they're not feeling it, and they feel like they're being lied to, which is part of the problem in the first place. So don't say things are better. Be honest. And here's what's really fascinating, and the thing that Democrats need to accept and do, and it is counterintuitive for politicians. It has been for centuries. But be frickin' honest. And here's what he says. Democratic messages that fully embrace the new economic reality are necessary. That's what he says. The messages that tested better in the survey reject both, quote, credit taking, so don't pat yourself on the back, as I said, and the blame game, don't blame Bush. That's done. Concede, everybody knows he was horrible, so don't blame Bush, don't take credit. Concede that, quote, immense economic problems will take years to solve. Very hard for people to say. But for Barack Obama to get up there in 2012 and Democrats running for the Senate and the House to get up there and say, I know it's been 4 years, but this is a horrible situation. This is a global recession. And here maybe you could say, we stepped into a terrible situation. You probably shouldn't even say that. But this is a terrible, terrible economic situation. It's getting better, but it's going to take years for you to feel it. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. It's going to take years. And anybody who tells you otherwise is not being honest. There's no quick fix. It's going to get better for your kids, but you're going to have to suck it up. I'm telling you, tell people that. And that's what this survey shows. Concede that immense economic problems will take years to solve. Man, I swear to God, voters want to hear that. Emphasize economic and budget solutions that will ask the richest to pay their fair share of taxes. Why Democrats merely say that and don't follow through on that, I have no idea. And nobody can answer that question. It's a political winner, and it's the right policy. It's the right thing to do for America, and it's the right thing politically, and Democrats won't do it. Puzzling, but it tests well. Do it. Do it. Follow through on it. Support education and innovation. That works. It's also the right policy. It's a great combination. It's a political winner and a policy winner. So do it. People will pay for it. Say you've got to pay for it. It's how we're going to get out of it. It's how it's going to be good for your kids. Make that point. You have to sacrifice for your children. Parents want to sacrifice for their kids. Confront the power of money in the lobbyists. Don't just say it. Actually do it. I know that's the hardest part because that's where your money comes from. Anyway, interesting. We'll see whether Democrats will do it. I'm very dubious. Anthony Weiner has obviously been in the news because no one could possibly have handled the scandal that he faced worse. Some of the things he said, Jason Linkins wrote an incredible piece from the Huffington Post. Everything that Anthony Weiner did was wrong. Every single thing he did was wrong. So Jesus, some pictures of Anthony Weiner here would be great. This is when he was talking to Bret Baier. And Bret Baier from Fox News says to him, you know, the Department of Justice computer crimes prosecutor said it would take one call to the FBI, just one call, and they would subpoena Twitter, and within 5 minutes they would know where this hack came from, right? And so that sounds like it would be great, as Jason Linkins points out. But of course, Anthony Weiner, he's not really interested in that because that makes it seems like, oh my God, you might find out that I'm responsible for something. So do that. The country doesn't think that you're wasting money if you have the Justice Department investigate it. And then to Wolf Blitzer, this was funny from Jason Linkins. He said, I saw this. I was watching this on Wolf Blitzer. Weiner said to him, I follow you, by the way. Excellent Twitter feed. And Jason Linkins writes, I find it hard to believe that Wolf Blitzer has an excellent Twitter feed or even an adequate one. That's from Jason Linkins, not from me. To Luke Russert, he says that he said to Luke Russert, one of the things that goes on with Twitter is that you form networks with people as a way of getting more followers, and that is something that has been done since time immemorial, and it's now being criminalized. No, it's not being criminalized. That's not what's being criminalized. So don't get into the nonsense hyperbole that he gets into. And then he said to Brett Baer, I don't think this is a federal case. I don't think this is the second coming of bin Laden. Neither does anyone else. Again, not the time for hyperbole. And then he said to Wolf Blitzer, I mean, hound me, but she didn't do anything wrong, but the other people involved didn't do anything wrong, so lay off them. Well, Wolf Blitzer is interviewing you. He's not hounding anyone else. You asked to come on his show. Again, it makes him sound disingenuous. To Rachel Maddow, he said, I'll be honest with you, you completely, this is after Rachel Maddow explained all the technical stuff here that might go into hacking. She broke down the technical stuff really extremely well. And he said to her, I'll be honest with you, you completely lost me with the technical stuff at the outset here. And Jason Lincolns again points out, and he's right. I don't know about you, man, but if I were in this scandal, it was going on, I would probably spend some time investigating the technical stuff. I wouldn't be like, I don't understand this technical stuff. I don't know how somebody hacked my account. I don't know. So giddy up. And then, of course, the is that a picture of you? And I can't say it with certitude. Just say no. Please, please say no. And if you can't say no, then stop talking to people. Okay? Or, now, Jason Lincolns doesn't write this, or say what I think would be an acceptable thing to say, and this gets back to the poll numbers that we got from Stan Greenberg, and say, hey, look, man, these were my private pictures, and like many other people, I've taken private pictures that the last thing I wanted with these private pictures was for them to be released publicly. I have a lot of private pictures that if released publicly would be totally embarrassing. Sorry. Maybe they don't look becoming of a congressman, but boy, did I never expect them to be released publicly, and I'm humiliated by them. Okay? I think everybody cuts him a break on that. Everybody. But he can't even say that. So he ought to. And then, but the guy who's giving him, one of the guys giving him advice on this and giving him correct advice on this is Al Sharpton, MSNBC host Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton filling in for the suspended Ed Schultz, and Al Sharpton was okay. It's weird to see Al Sharpton. He's been a guest on all kinds of shows, on Fox News, on CNN, on MSNBC, and it's normal to see Al Sharpton as a guest, but sitting behind the desk as a guest, but sitting behind the desk as an anchor, strange. And, you know, he was not exactly loose and fluid, but he did all right. He did all right. And he talked about Anthony Weiner, who I get the feeling, obviously, politically, they're very much aligned. And he offered Weiner some advice, some pretty good advice, too. So here's anchor Al Sharpton.
Welcome back to the Ed Show. After a full day of interviews did nothing to quiet the Weinergate frenzy, today Congressman Anthony Weiner announced he's done talking about it.
After hours, almost 11 hours of answering questions, any that anyone wanted to put, today I'm going to have to get back to work doing the job that I'm paid to do. So I appreciate your patience and understanding, and if I can do anything to make you more comfortable while you're sitting out here in the hallway, please let me know.
As someone who's been through his fair share of controversy, I have some crisis management advice to offer Congressman Anthony Weiner. Stop talking when you're faced with a controversy. You either fully explain what happened or you shut up. And don't announce that you're not going to talk about it anymore. Just stop talking about it. I hope for the congressman's sake that he's able to keep his mouth shut from now on. And speaking of people who should keep their mouths shut, Glenn Beck has announced the last date for his Fox News show.
Getting ready to go to the tease. And speaking of people who should shut up, so how about that line? You either fully explain the controversy or you shut up. And then there was this move. And as someone who's been in his fair share of controversies, it's hard to know what to do with your hands. I've been on the air since 1993, and I still have no idea what to do with my hands. Still, and man, my first piece on the air, when first of all, it was the worst story ever. It was on Yom Kippur. It was like a story on what Yom Kippur is. They gave it to the Jew. It was my first story in South Carolina. And I had to call my dad and ask him, so what's Yom Kippur? And then I did the story, and I mean, it couldn't, you know. I mean, it was just brutal. And you're like this, you don't know, and you're moving your hand like, you know, it's the Day of Atonement. It couldn't have sucked more. So anyway, I don't know. It's funny to see Al Sharpton behind this, but his advice to Anthony Weiner, and then if you're going to talk, either fully explain it or don't do it, man. Don't, come on. And then he's like, and then if you're going to stop talking about it, for the love of God, actually stop talking about it. Sage advice from Al Sharpton. I like that stuff. So more fun. I want to keep going with the Twitter story too. The Speaker of the Ohio House is a guy named William Batchelder. JR brought this story to my attention, and it's a great, great story. So William Batchelder, he's 68 years old, and I guess has he been hacked, JR? Right? A hacker has breached his account too. That's right?
He's done it too.
So he's been hacked, William Batchelder, except William Batchelder is surprised by the hacking because unlike Anthony Weiner, who's tweeting regularly and had more than 45,000 followers, I bet Anthony Weiner has more now. Batchelder doesn't know anything about Twitter. So here's a couple of things that Batchelder had to say. When asked about the hacking, he said he wouldn't be doing any more of this, quote, Twittering. He goes, "Why do I have a device like that? I can't play it." He doesn't know how to play Twitter. And then he goes on, when asked about it yesterday, the 68-year-old speaker, by the way, he refers to laptops on members' desks as little televisions. He's the Speaker of the Ohio House. These guys elected him Speaker. He calls the laptops on their desks, as I have one here, he calls them little televisions, and he's admitted to being technologically inept. He said, as I said, he was totally unaware that he had a Twitter account, and he says here, well, I don't want to do any more of this Twittering, with a question mark, so I don't want to do any more of this Twittering. And then he turned and he talked to his, who's this guy, Ditto? JR, do we know who this guy is?
Yeah, he's basically like his spokesman, his speaker.
Okay, so he turned to his guy, right?
Yeah.
So he says, "Well, I won't do any more of this Twittering," and then he turns to his aide to make sure he got it correct. So that's who he's asking. So he goes, "I won't do any more of this Twittering." Is that what it's called there, buddy? So he turns to his aide. "I won't do any more of this Twittering. We'll avoid that at all costs. I didn't know I had such a device. We'll avoid it at all costs." Again, Speaker of the Ohio House.
It proves what I've always known. I think everyone knows this. It's not like it's a secret. Many of these verified accounts, they're not being run by the guys.
Oh,
especially
totally.
politicians and some celebrities, many celebrities actually. It's like they'll be like, "Oh, really? I got hacked. What was I saying?
Yeah,
What
totally.
was I saying before that? Oh, who's this intern that I have saying what I want to say on my Twitter account because I have no idea what it is or really give a shit about it at all? It's really all it is anyway."
Yeah, of course they don't. Although apparently one account that was verified was Anthony Weiner's. How do you answer the question about the pictures with, "Well, I can tell you there are photographs"? Is there any chance that Anthony Weiner asked anyone about how he should handle this? Anyone? Do you think there was one person who he went to for advice? Is it possible?
He doesn't seem like the advice-seeking type, though. He'd be like, "Oh, can't believe this happened. I'm going to take to the airwaves and fight it back."
Right. Because he's a charming guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a really smart guy. He thought he could charm his way out of it. You think?
I just think there's the part that we like about Anthony Weiner is he'll go and he'll call it out and attack it and go on Fox News, go on whatever, and then he'll go and confront people. But then he wasn't thinking about it. He had that mindset without thinking, how should I do it?
Yeah, I think you're right. That makes sense. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll hear some great stuff that's just, there's no other way to describe it, flat out racist from Georgia Representative Paul Braun. We'll also see an AP story on the indictment of John Edwards, which is funny. That's all there is to it. And Elizabeth Hasselbeck, she turns and goes after somebody she once supported. She sticks a knife in Sarah Palin's back. Sort of. Anyway, that's fun stuff. That's all coming up, Young Turks.